Hi, and welcome everybody to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. It's Monday, January 29th. It's a new week, and we're, like always, on a Monday. We are joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. He resides in Arizona, folks, and for those of us living in the Northeast, he likes to rub it in on occasion and what the weather is like in Arizona as compared to our pity party here in the Northeast. I'm from Western New York. Jim, our owner, is from Philadelphia, and they're both backstage right now. And Seth, our producer, is in South Jersey. Seth, shake your head. South Jersey, yeah. So just north of Philadelphia. So the weather isn't quite as kind, Mr. Upstone.
I came into the conversation backstage. You guys were all whining about it, okay? And the only person that had the intelligence to move is me, okay? So don't give me all this grief about that it's nice outside. And you even wanted to know. I didn't even want to tell you, okay? So no, not my fault. So what a crazy weekend, right? Especially the Sunday for football. Holy cow, that was nuts, Ross.
Yeah, all right, I got a couple things I want to address, and I'm going to try to keep my temperature down on this, but I'm going to express my opinion. And for those of you who haven't watched before, no, I had no reservations about expressing my opinion and going to places other people aren't comfortable going with. So that's what I'm going to do. Because, look, I'm a big supporter of Dan Campbell. I love him. I think where he's taken his franchise in his third year of being a head coach there is unparalleled. You had a franchise that was down in the dumps. He starts out 0-10 in his first year. He starts out 1-7 last year. And since then, I think he's like the Lions are like 23-5, which speaks volumes to the job he's done there. Now, he's lived and died with the analytics, and sometimes he really, really presses the envelope with the analytics because he likes to go for it on fourth down, and he takes a lot of risk. And I would say on more occasions than not, he's successful in doing so, and it's been part of his MO, Doug.
Yep.
But would you, again, I got to ask your opinion, and I'm sure people, you can comment as much as you want, people. We welcome it, okay? Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, that doesn't matter, as long as you keep it respectful. All right, but in my opinion, going for it on fourth down when you're in field goal range in a game that you can make instead of a 2-score game, a 3-score game, or a 1-score game and a 2-score game, that's fine and dandy during regular season action, especially when you're down the stretch where you pretty much had the NFC North locked up from probably week 10 on. There was no realistic chance that anybody was going to catch them. Okay, mathematically, yes, but you get into playoffs, okay? Going for it during the regular season in situations like that and leaving points off the board where you could have kicked the easy field goal. And yes, okay, you're playing a quality team that scores a lot of points and you're not going to win it by settling for field goals. I get all that theory, okay? But the bottom line is going for it in situations like that when you're playing Chicago, when you're playing Minnesota, when you're playing anybody else that wasn't a playoff team this year is one thing. You're playing the San Francisco 49ers. You're on the road, okay? I think that you have to adjust your thinking. I am not out here saying that Dan Campbell's a stupid coach. That's the furthest thing that I'm trying to imply. But I do think that sometimes you could bite your nose off to spite your face and stick by your guns and what you've done all year. And I just think that the coaches that get to the elite level make those types of adjustment at postseason time. And they go deeper into their thinking when it comes to situations in an NFC championship game as opposed to week 8 of the regular season. Anyway, your thoughts, Doug.
Yeah, as you're talking about this, I guess the word that I think of is nuanced. So like nuanced thinking is that you look at each situation as it comes, and then you make your decision. You might have the way you like to do things all the time, but sometimes, you need to think it through maybe a little bit more and just not go for it. For example, Ross, if Dan Campbell, if they would have actually won the game, Detroit, I think he would have got a personal invitation from every casino to come and play blackjack. Okay. In this one, because it would be, he's on 18, hit me. Okay?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Or
he's playing poker and he's got a 5-6 and an 8-9, and he stays in trying to catch that the 7,
right,
the middle card
every time
on the river. So it's anyway. Is it probable? Yes. Is it will cost you in the long run by doing it? Absolutely. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, no. Or the other one that I thought of in watching it, the speed limit is 30, and Dan Campbell says I always drive 45 when I go through there. Sometimes I get a ticket, sometimes I don't.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's another one, but I always drive 45 because that's how I drive. Yeah. So it's just, yes, I agree with you, the thinking. And I know, people are making apologies for him, say, well, look at drop passes, the Josh Reynolds dropped the one pass on fourth down. It wasn't an easy catch. Well, guys drop passes all the time, throughout the game. Should he have made the catch? Of course he should have. And then they shouldn't have fumbled either. And, there's any number of plays that go on that cost people games and stuff like that every single weekend. So, but, I just agree. I don't think it's just not a smart decision. I just think you need a little bit more. And, in looking to the future, one of something that everybody should think about hard in this one is the coaching matchup. Going into the Super Bowl, think about the coaches, because I think San Francisco and Baltimore and ultimately got what they deserve. But you know what? When you have a front four that you're wholly dependent upon, throughout the entire season to rush the passer, get to the passer, and disrupt the other offense, and when it's not working at all, for what you're trying to do, in a single game elimination, you have to make adjustments.
Absolutely.
You have to send that fifth or sixth guy at the right time. You have to understand when to do that. I was blown away. It was like watching the first game and the first half of the second game were the same game. As far as I was concerned, looking at Baltimore and San Francisco, I was just mystified why these coaches, the defensive coaches in particular, why they would not, do something disruptive. Kansas City certainly did something disruptive to get Lamar Jackson off target, and it worked. So from that standpoint, to me, when you're looking at the Super Bowl, make that, I'm not saying it's the top of the list, but certainly in your top 4.
Yeah,
breaking the game down.
And you got 2 great coaches in the Super Bowl. So Andy Reid has proven his wares, and Kyle Shanahan at this point, he wins the big one next week, he gets to another level. So the bottom line is that, Kyle Hamilton, I saw him blitz on a couple occasions and they were effective in doing that. But we both know, Doug, that blitzing Patrick Mahomes regularly is going to end up with not a happy ending more times than not. But you have to mix that in a little bit. And then some line stunts, something along those lines. I agree with you, because they had their number and they put absolutely no pressure on Mahomes, and he'll pick you apart. That's the bottom line. I mean, he didn't get sacked the week before against Buffalo, too. It was number 3 in sacks. So, kudos to Mahomes, and B, their offensive line. You can't underscore that whatsoever. Let me get to this, and then we're going to move on. Lamar Jackson. All right. I've had these discussions time and time again through the course of the season. And I think that he's going to win the MVP, and I can make a case for 2 other quarterbacks ahead of him. And I'm not going to name names, because then I'm going to be guilty of showing bias. One in particular, that's for sure. And you know what? He won the MVP. Big deal. Big deal, because he gets in the playoffs. He's a tiger during the regular season. He's a lamb during the playoffs. Yeah, he went for 100 yards rushing last week against Houston. Houston left the middle of the field wide open. They play man-to-man. They don't even leave a spy. He exposed that. But what happens when he plays a defense led by Steve Spagnuolo? Yeah, what happened then? Okay? Look at his numbers throughout the course of the year, folks. Baltimore had a lot of success, not solely reliant on Lamar Jackson. Now, are they a better team, far better team with Lamar than they are with anybody else under center? On the roster? Absolutely. Right. Tell me what NFL teams, the majority of NFL teams we could say that for. Let's just leave it at that. But now you get in the playoffs. The guy is 2-4 in the postseason. This is the second time they didn't make it to the Super Bowl as a number one seed. You look at his postseason numbers, and they're not MVP-like. I mean, again, see, this is where I have a problem. I don't think the MVP voting should be until maybe the end of the conference championship games, because by then you can't weigh in on a Super Bowl because there's a Super Bowl MVP for a reason, correct? But to me, the guy is, I can name a lot more better seasons from MVPs in past years than I saw from Lamar Jackson this year. Now, was he good? Was his stats stellar? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's not that Josh Allen loses a playoff game. He's 5-6 in his postseason career. But look at his numbers during the postseason. It's not because of Josh Allen they're losing games. Okay? You look at Lamar Jackson, pedestrian numbers. Pedestrian. He ran for 100 last week, like I said, in what I thought was flawed Houston defensive game planning. But he only threw for 150 yards last week when they needed him most yesterday at home. He scores 10 points. His offense led by him scores 10 points. Doug, I'll let you comment, and then we're going to move on to our college basketball picks.
Yes, I certainly don't believe that Lamar played well. I'm not saying that, but I think the whole concept of and he had been good all year. I think they had a flawed game plan, and Baltimore, for whatever reason, decided not to be Baltimore on Sunday. This is a team that averaged 32 runs per game, and this season, when they had 30 rushes or more, they were 10-1 straight up and against the spread. So if that's what you do, and that's what you've done all year, even if you're down 7 to 10 points, why did you give up on the running game? I mean, 100% gave up on the running game. And because the running backs for the game had a total of 6 rushes, the running backs did. They had 3 the last 54 plus minutes of the game. 3 rush attempts from your running backs when that's how you play. That is when Baltimore's at their best. That's when Lamar Jackson's at their best. So to me, yes, I mean, offensive coordinator Todd Monken had a lousy game plan, and he panicked like the team did. The entire Baltimore team, the stupid penalties that they were taking in some instances. I mean, they fell right for the trap, and they fell right into it. And ultimately they got what they deserved. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and you're right, Doug, because when you think about it in the formulas that you just came up with and in the numbers that you just shared with us in terms of the running game, and this comes on the heels of Buffalo running for 170 yards against Kansas City last week. What are you thinking? And maybe, I don't know, maybe you put too much onus of responsibility on Lamar Jackson, but, if you're an MVP, you're supposed to put onus of responsibility on Lamar Jackson. All right, let's get to right now, Doug, just a quick note. The Super Bowl right now are opened with San Francisco being a 2-point favorite. Total 47.5. San Fran is now down to 1 and 47.5. I would entertain a prop. I know you like to do props. I'm not sure what the rushing numbers are for Isaiah Pacheco, but what I've seen from San Francisco against Green Bay and then yesterday against Detroit is they're giving up a hell of a lot of yards on the ground in those 2 wins, playoff wins, which kept the games a lot closer for the underdogs than they should have been.
Yeah, I would agree that that's a good one. And also you saw yesterday, and actually we've seen the last 2 weeks, why Washington was, and now I'm drawing a blank on his name, the defensive end they picked up from Washington.
Yeah, Chase Young.
Chase Young. Okay.
Yeah.
You saw the last 2 weeks why they were willing to give up on Chase Young and even Bosa, because, now they did run the ball up the middle pretty effectively, especially in the first quarter and a half. Detroit did. After that, not as much, but where they never stopped being able to run the ball was right at the ends. And both the lack of discipline by Bosa and Young on those plays, okay, when the ball was coming, they would collapse immediately. They didn't hold the edge.
Instead of securing the edge. Yep.
And it was just so obvious. And in both games, and I know they were talking at the beginning of the game, well, hey, they really worked on it. Well, they didn't work hard enough on it because it didn't work.
Yeah, exactly right.
So I don't know, that puts them behind the 8 ball to me, unless something different changes going into this game. Because I mean, if it's obvious, Ross, to you and I think it's going to be obvious to Andy Reid. Okay, from that standpoint. So
yeah.
Good luck with that one. So yeah.
Andy Reid's not Todd Monken running the ball 6 times with his running back after a team just ran 170 yards against him the week before. All right, Doug, getting into our college basketball games, we got a couple good matchups, both on ESPN. I'll be looking at the ACC battle between Duke and Virginia Tech. Doug will be looking at the Houston and Texas game that will be played at Texas. And Doug, right now, Houston is a 5-point favorite in that contest. Take it away.
Yes. Well, for those that remember the old Southwest Conference, well, here you go. Okay. Yeah, it's only going to be for 1 year because Texas is going to the SEC. But it's interesting this way. Now, Cougars are right near the top of the Big 12 standings. Life on the Big 12 road, as they have found out, their 2 losses have come there. It's not easy. Best conference in college basketball for sure. And Houston has found out that the Big 12 is not the American Conference, okay, especially on the road. Now, Kelvin Sampson, his teams, though, are still a defensive juggernaut. Now, take this into consideration. They are number 1 in points allowed, field goal percentage defense, effective field goal percentage, adjusted field goal percentage, true shooting percentage, and 2-point percentage, okay, all across the board. The only place where you could call Houston a slacker is against 3-point, and they're only number 8 in the country in that one. So we'll look at that. Now, Texas comes in 14-6. But they're just 3-4 and 2-5 against the spread in the Big 12. Some will say that the Longhorns are unpredictable. To me, the fact of the matter is they're very predictable because you never know what they're going to do from game to game. Now, the Horns are shooting 48%, okay, on the season, very good, 47% in conference. What you don't see, though, from them is the continual effort, game after game after game. And this shows up on the defensive end and in rebounding. And so, for example, after beating Baylor, okay, a nice home win, they go to Oklahoma, hand the Sooners their first home loss, 75-60. Last Saturday, they go to BYU. They're whipped on the glass, and BYU, the Cougars, shoot 64% against them. Now, talent-wise, these teams are comparable, I would say. Just overall, the great unknown is the intensity of which Texas will play with. Well, I got my coin out, Ross, and I flipped it, and I gave heads to say that they'll be intense. Okay, so that's what I'm going with on this one. I think this is going to be a 1-score game either way in Austin. Texas comes in 7-0 against a spread off a loss by 10 or more points to a conference rival. Give me the Longhorns and give me the Rosary too, so I can hang on to that while I'm watching that one.
Yeah, I agree with you because you can make a case that BYU game, which was on Saturday, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, that was they got caught looking ahead a little bit. You got Houston on deck, a top 3 team in the country, and one of the best teams in the country. I don't think you can get much of an argument from anybody there, no matter how you perceive it. You just went through all the analytics, how good they are defensively, but they've been hit a couple times this year, specifically on the road within conference play. And when you talk about Texas's inconsistencies, the bottom line is the Big 12 is such a good conference. Yeah. And we've seen you can make a case for several teams in the Big 12 that just look like, wow, this team looks like a top 10 team. And then the next game they lose as a 6 or 7 point favorite against somebody that's perceived to be an inferior opponent. It's just the nature of the conference. But if they're not up for this game, okay, against Houston, an in-state rival. And there again, like you said, Doug, this is a short-lived series in terms of the Big 12 with Texas moving to the SEC. I got to think this is going to be a hyped-up crowd. There's going to be a lot of emotion, and 5 points on a home floor to a quality team, even as good as Houston is, I think is too much. And I agree with you. So Doug Upstone likes the Texas Longhorns plus the 5 over the Houston Cougars. And I'm going to give him my stamp of approval on that one. So not that he needs it, but there you go. All right. Before we move on to my game, which is Duke and Virginia Tech, real quick reminder, folks, we are brought to you by gamblersworld.net. If you go to gamblersworld.net, you'll not only find myself, but you'll find 9 other great handicappers at the site. We guarantee all our picks. If you don't win, you don't make a profit on any single game or multi-game daily package or any subscription plan of 30 days or fewer. We will we will credit your purchase price back on your specific package. So if you paid $35, you're going to get $35 in credit. If we lose, hopefully that's a moot point on the majority of occasions, but it gives you a peace of mind. Not a refund, folks. Credit. Okay, so think about that. And no, if you buy a pick solely on credit, you had $35 in credit, and you used it toward another purchase, say another $35 package, and your purchase price actually was $0 because you had credit, you don't get credit on credit. So just keep that in mind, because we've had a couple questions in that regard, and rightfully so. And we clarify right away, folks. So don't forget, don't hesitate to use our customer support email to let us know what's on your mind. All right. And also a subscribe button. There's a black subscribe button right underneath. And also, if you're on your PC, you'll see a WC logo in the bottom right-hand corner. Subscribe or WC, click on that. It's absolutely free. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda. And then take a couple extra seconds further. And that, that goes for all of you who have subscribed already. If you haven't done this, click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel in your YouTube settings, and you'll be notified immediately upon any of our 5 shows weekly going up on our channel. All right, so Duke and Virginia Tech. Doug, we finally get to that, and we'll get your thoughts right after. Duke is currently a 3-point road favorite. The total in this game is 146. Duke's coming off an emotional and highly controversial 72-71 home win versus Clemson, and they didn't come close to covering as a 7.5-point favorite. This game was played on Saturday. Why I say highly controversial, if you watch that game, Clemson was called for a lot more fouls in the game. It was very lopsided, and the game seemed to be equal in terms of physicality. As a matter of fact, usually serene Joe Girard, who played 4 years at Syracuse, and I know that because I watched him for 4 years, went ballistic chasing the referees and had to be held back at the end of the game because Clemson and their staff thought that they were just shortchanged in terms of the refereeing in that game. But having said that, Duke escaped. Now, keep this in mind, too. Now they play 2 days later. They have to go on the road to face an unranked Virginia Tech team. And up next on Saturday is a trip to Chapel Hill to take on the number 3 ranked North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, this is certainly a potential flat spot for the Blue Devils. Not only that, yes, Duke has won 3 of their last 4, but it's been uninspiring while they're doing so. I mean, they won at Louisville by 14. On paper, that looks like a lopsided win, but they were a 14-point favorite in that game. And anybody who knows anything about the ACC and college basketball knows Louisville is not a very good team at this moment in time. They also lost at home to Pitt as a 12-point favorite. I mentioned they barely beat Clemson on Saturday, and then they beat Georgia Tech by 5 at home as a 17.5-point favorite. So it's not like Duke is playing their best basketball right now. On the other hand, Virginia Tech comes in off a 3-game win streak. Over the last 3 seasons, going back to 2021, 2022, when the Hokies are playing at home and they're coming off 2 or more wins, They are 10-1 straight up. Excuse me. They are 8-1 against the spread with an average victory margin of 19.4 points per game. They're also 10-1 straight up at home this year, including a win over the very same Clemson team that Duke just faced at home, but they beat Clemson by 15. 3-point shot is always a great equalizer in college basketball. And this holds true in this game. If you look at the 3-point shooting percentage of Virginia Tech and how Duke has defended the three over each of their last 5 games, Virginia Tech has averaged 10 3-point makes over their last 5 games and converted on 38.2% of those attempts, which is extremely good. Duke, on the other hand, it goes hand in hand to where I'm saying they're not playing their best basketball right now. The Duke Blue Devils have allowed their opponents in their last 5 games to shoot a combined 39.3% from beyond the 3-point arc. I'm going to take Virginia Tech here, Doug. It's not so much about who I think the better team is, because obviously you'll get more times than not, you're going to have people tell you that Duke is far superior.
Yep.
I don't know if they're far superior, but they're certainly the better team here. But it's a spot. It's a spot where I think it's a very good spot for the home underdog, and I like Virginia Tech here plus the 3 over Duke.
Well, I'm going to ride the Ross train on this one, and I'm going to back it up with also, Duke 6-2 by themselves in the conference, second place behind North Carolina, but they're only 2-5-1 in conference play against the spread. So, to Ross's point, not very, enticing, and even the spread only being 3 points. I think that says something as to what the odds maker is thinking here. You mentioned their 10-1 straight up record at home. They're also shooting 49.1% at home. So this team, besides making threes, they're just getting good shots, have a nice diversified offense, typical Mike Young team. They move the ball around, share the wealth. And they're a lot better when they're dropping threes, which they seem to be. And there's no reason to think they won't get a good percentage of them tonight against Duke. Also, they're also 12-2 against the spread if they're off a win by 10 or more points. Ross, I'm taking the points with you with Virginia Tech and Hokie up on this one.
All right, Virginia Tech plus the 3. We like both underdogs tonight in the ESPN nationally televised games. I like Virginia Tech plus the 3 over Duke. Doug agrees with me. He likes the Texas Longhorns plus the 5 at home against the Houston Cougars, and I agree with him on that one too. So there you have it, folks. 2 winners for you on Monday night. Big Monday on ESPN. 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock starts are those 2 games. Doug, tell the folks a little bit about what's going on with Doug Upstone at DocSports.com and also what he may have coming up this week.
Well, we're going to lose hockey kind of this week, so that's not much going on. I think we got 6 games all week before the official All-Star break, even though several teams already are on a break. But still, 9-2 in best bets. Had another one on Saturday. 28-17 run in hockey. So that's been good. NBA action, though, is going to be in play. And I am on a 17-6 run in the NBA. I had to sweat out one on Saturday, a 7-unit best bet with Sacramento, who had a 24-point lead and literally almost gave it away, but they didn't. Okay, so that was good. That was a possible. But 17-6, I actually have a play on Monday night that's available, and I will continue with basketball, the NBA basketball. So Ben Strong there. College basketball had a couple of tough luck losses on Saturday. Both occurred inside of a minute. Just what can you say? What can you do? So had a winner yesterday with Louisiana there. So again, just can't quite get that momentum going in college basketball. So I'm going to just keep plugging away at it. And we're getting to February, Ross, on Thursday. So now it's really time to go and to make it for the home stretch here before we get to the tournament.
Yeah, watch out because our focus is a lot more razor sharp right now in terms of college basketball and the NBA with football out of the equation. And with only the Super Bowl left, and that's not for another 2 weeks. Was one of those losers Iowa State, by the way?
No, I was going to take Iowa State. I did not, but I did have Kentucky, okay. Who fouled with 1 second to go, and the guy made a 3-point.
My goodness. So. Yeah, I had Iowa State minus 4.5.
Yep.
They're up 7 with 5 seconds to go. Go to the free throw line, 1-1. Missed the front end of the 1-1, and lo and behold, doesn't Kansas hit a 3 at the buzzer to lose by 4, and I lose. But anyway, I did have a 10-star top play or a best bet selection in college basketball, whatever way you want to phrase it, on Northwestern on Saturday. And they absolutely annihilated their opponent, winning by 26. It was as much as a 35-point game on Saturday. And I'm trying to think who they played now off the top of my head.
A Big Ten team.
Yeah, a Big Ten team. And it wasn't a bad Big Ten team. Anyway, as a 3-point favorite, they won the game going away. So keep an eye on my college basketball top plays, 4-unit and above. Also, keep an eye on my college basketball totals that continue to roll, folks. 51-28 with my last 79 college basketball totals dating back to last year. That's good for 65%. You can find me at our sponsor site, gamblersworld.net. That's gamblersworld.net. Don't forget, folks, you can subscribe 3-day, 7-day, and 30-day packages. 3 days cost you $99. 7-day, $175, 30-day, $399, and you get our personal guarantee. If you don't win or don't make a profit over that course of time, we will credit back your account the exact amount of what you paid out of your pocket for that purchase. There's a like button right underneath. And Doug, what did he do with the like button here?
I'm going to change it up. I'm going to suggest you use your thumb. Okay.
All right.
You use your thumb for the like button. So just make it happen.
Yeah. He that's because Doug lost all his 4 fingers when he shook hands with somebody from the state of Florida. Anyway, the bottom line is click that like button, folks. It's just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort that we put in bringing you a quality podcast on our channel and to make you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. You haven't done so already. It's absolutely free to do so. And go to your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. You'll be notified immediately upon any of our future podcasts going up on our channel. And the more recent future podcasts, I should say, if that makes sense, will be tomorrow. I'll be on with Sean Higgs and Jesse Schule. Will be discussing more college basketball at that time. Sean and Jesse will be back with me on Wednesday again. And then it'll be Mr. Upstone back on Thursday. And then our live show Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern time, folks. Until then, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless.